Hey there, it's George from DinosaurGeorge.com answering the questions I get from around the globe. Let's dive right into it. Bobby from Vancouver, Canada says, hi. I'm just wondering if a male and a female dinosaur had the same color patterns, and if so, how do you know? Bobby, great question. First, we do not know what the color patterns of dinosaurs were. Now, we can certainly look at living animals today. See, living animals give us sort of a window into the past. And so in order to understand things like color and even sound and behaviors, we have to look at modern animals. Well, if you look at modern animals, in almost every case, there's a different color pattern between male and female. When you look at the dinosaurs' closest living relatives, which are the reptiles and the birds, there is clearly a distinction between male and female in most cases. So, my guess, you would have seen, if you stood a male and a female of the same species together, I think you would have seen a very distinctive different color pattern between the two. How do I know? I don't. But since you're not here to argue, and the only person here is the guy running the camera, he's not going to argue with me, I hope. Are you? No? All right. Good for you. All right, so nobody's going to argue with me, so that's how I know. All right, Nathan from Louisville. I don't know which Louisville this is. I think there's a Louisville, Georgia, and a Louisville, Kentucky. Is that correct? Anyway, Nathan, you didn't tell me which state, so I'm making a guess. Nathan says, hi, George. My question is, was Ceratosaurus smart? Nathan, good question, man. Yeah, you know what? Ceratosaurus was smart enough to survive, and that alone shows intellect. Now, Ceratosaurus probably wasn't overly intelligent. In other words, I don't think he could sit down and formulate ideas, and I don't think he pondered the weather, and I don't think he worried about paying his taxes on time. Not that I guess any dinosaur's worried about that, but anyway. But Nathan, he was certainly smart enough to be able to survive. And in nature, if an animal is successful, that suggests it has enough intellect to be able to survive. All right, Daniel from Central Islip, New York says, hi, Dinosaur George. My favorite dinosaur is Coelophysis. Daniel, that's a very cool dinosaur. And I was wondering who would win in a fight, a group of Coelophysis or a Postosuchus. Well, Daniel, unfortunately, these are so dramatically different animals that an animal like Postosuchus is built like an army tank. And Coelophysis is kind of built like a ballet dancer with some nasty teeth. Coelophysis was very light built and very agile and was not really designed for confrontation the way you and I would think of a fight. So, Postosuchus is built like a tank. Try to imagine you and 15 or 20 or 100 of your friends trying to attack a modern M1 Abrams tank with your teeth and claws. It would be a complete waste of your time. And in my opinion, that's exactly what would have occurred had Coelophysis attempted to attack something like Postosuchus. Now, they didn't need to fight him to be able to defeat him. They simply had to outthink him. And so in my opinion, Coelophysis was a much more effective predator, which means he got to the food first, he gobbled it up quickly, and left little for Postosuchus. And over time, that took its toll. So maybe they wouldn't win in a fight, but in the battle of survival, they absolutely would have won. All right, Erick from Chicago, Illinois. George, I heard about your website and decided to give it a try. Erick, I'm glad to hear that, and I hope you like the site. My favorite dinosaur is Allosaurus. That's my favorite too. And I was wondering about its horns because I've seen different pictures of its horns, but they always look different. And do you think they ever use them for fighting and maybe to attract a mate? Okay, and then he says, P.S. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and if you do, and thank you if you do answer the question, because there's many things I don't know about Allosaurus yet, and I would like to learn more about it. Well, Erick, first of all, very glad you wrote to me. I hope this can help you. The horns on top of the head of Allosaurus are somewhat of a mystery because what we're looking at when we look at the skeleton is we're only looking at the bone part of the horn. The question is, was there more to that horn when he was alive? In other words, was that bony covering or that bony core, was it covered by something like keratin, like our fingers are made of? It would have made the horns much more pronounced. My guess is that's exactly what was there. I don't believe that those bumps over the eyes would have been there for nothing. I think they served a purpose. And every Allosaurus skull that I've ever had the ability to study always shows those horns. So it tells me that maybe both male and female had them. Now, My guess would be, like modern day deer, the male's horns may have been more pronounced to be able to attract a mate or threaten a rival. See, one of the things about nature, what's so cool about nature, is that animals have a built-in mechanism to prevent a fight. Animals don't just naturally run up and start beating the tar out of each other, because that doesn't serve a purpose, and it's hard to find a doctor in the Jurassic period. So those horns on a male may have been able to be a signal for a younger male to look at a distance and look at this guy and go, dude, check out the horns on that guy. He's older than me, he's bigger than me, he's been in more fights than me, he probably knows how to fight better than I do, so it simply suggests to me to get the heck out of there. So I think they served a purpose. Now, I don't believe Allosaurus has lowered their head and butted heads with each other, because the design of their neck doesn't suit them. They've got an S-shaped neck, which means there's a built-in weak spot right behind the spot where the first vertebra connects to the occipital condyle, that round ball in the back of the head. So I don't believe that they were butting heads, because they're just too big, and when you're coming in with 3, 4, maybe 5 tons of power and you strike another one, chances are you could do more damage to yourself. So in my opinion, I think those horns were certainly there for display, but I think they may have helped determine the age of an animal, the sexual maturity of an animal. That sound is another airplane flying over. At first it sounded like a gigantic bug. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. Can you hear it? Yeah, well, I can hear it very clearly. So if you guys hear that at home, I'm not being attacked by a giant mosquito. At least I hope I'm not being attacked by a giant mosquito. It's a plane flying overhead. All right, finally, Jordan from Cookeville, Tennessee. Hello, DG. It's your friend from Facebook. Jordan, always good to hear from my friends on Facebook, and I've got a lot of them. I have 2 questions for you. Did Parasaurolophus have a flappy piece of skin behind the crest? And did it live alongside of my favorite dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex? Thank you for answering my questions. Jordan, thank you for taking the time to write to me. It's my pleasure, and thank you for being so courteous. Parasaurolophus, did it have a flap of skin behind that gigantic crest that came off the back of his head? I've only got a chance to study a cast replica off of Parasaurolophus. And unfortunately, this replica was not very good, and so it didn't give the detail that I would have liked to have seen. You see, if there was skin connected to that crest, I think it would have had a roughened under texture where the skin and the muscles, not so much the muscles, but the skin would have been able to literally hang on to the crest. So I don't see any evidence of that. So to me, I don't think it had it. Now, it would have looked incredibly cool, and perhaps it did. Maybe the males did. They use that as a mechanism to draw attention to themselves. We males are good at doing that. Some males use things like really cool cars to draw attention. Some of us turn our stereo up really loud. Back in the 70s, we used to wear gold chains with our shirt unbuttoned, but that's a very ugly thought now that I think about it. Sometimes it's best that the past is in the past. All right, listen, everybody, thank you guys so much for writing to me. Jordan, again, to your point, I don't know if they did or not. And finally, I forgot to answer your last part of your question. Did it live alongside of T-Rex? No. It ran like crazy when it was a T-Rex. So it never lived alongside of it. It simply ran away from it. But yeah, I do think Tyrannosaurus Rex probably would have been able to hunt Parasaurolophus, probably lived with them. All right, you guys, listen, thank you so much for writing to me. If you've got a question and you would like it answered, I can tell you this, we get thousands of questions every single month, and there's no way I can answer them all. So if you do write to me and I don't answer, please write to me again, and try to keep them short, because it's hard for me to read those really long emails. Until next time, everybody, take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. And for you young people out there, make sure to practice your reading skills, because they're very important. And for everybody, continue to use good manners. Until next time, I will talk to you guys soon. And visit my website, dinosaurgeorge.com, if you want to ask me a question. Take care, everybody.